Hey everybody, it's Invalid, and we are here today where I'm going to be answering your questions that you asked on my initial Q&A video introduction thingy-majig. I've been sitting here for like 5 days letting the questions pile up, so it's about time I get to them. So we're going to start off with Dark Ancient Z. Miscellaneous questions. Do you know who Lance Armstrong is? I know of him, I don't know him personally, and I have no idea about his accomplishments. So, no. My answer is actually no. I know of him, but that's kind of it. I've heard of who he is. Have you ever used a Linux distribution as an operating system? No, I'm not entirely sure what that is. I know what Linux is, but I'm not sure. I've never heard of Linux distribution, so no. What do you think that the meaning of life is? In the words of Amy Steinberg, living is the purpose of life. That's what I think the meaning of life is. Tell us about something that annoyed you so much that it made you completely mad for a brief moment. Tell you about something that annoyed me so much that it made me completely mad for a brief moment. Do you mean like mad as in angry? Mad as in absolutely bonkers off the wall, insane asylum kind of stuff? Mad shut down kind of thing? Not entirely sure how to take this, so I'll answer all three of those points. Something that made me so mad. Something that annoyed me so much that I was completely furious. So here, I suppose I could go on about the different games and stuff that I've played and gotten completely frustrated on and closed out and rage quit and stuff like that, but that's kind of, I guess, sort of typical for gamers like myself, and that's not really an interesting story, so I'm trying to think of something outside of that. The only one that's coming to mind is probably when... This is actually really personal, but, just to clarify, my mother is actually an awesome person, but as parents can do, there was an instance where I was with this girl who I was really into at the time, and my mom was going away for the weekend, and what she ended up doing was calling her father, the girl's father, my girlfriend, my ex's father, and saying, hey, don't let your daughter and my kid get together and do anything silly or anything like that. And he took it in a way that she wasn't expecting, that my mom wasn't expecting. And he sat down with his daughter and had a long discussion with her about what impression do you give her that would make you think you're a slut. That's kind of how it went down. And of course, girlfriend couldn't handle it. She broke up with me. And my mom came back that Sunday, and I was pissed. I shut her out of my room, and I just didn't say anything to her for probably 2 or 3 days worth. And things happened after that yeah, that was a rough time in the relationship between me and my mom, for sure. But I think that was a moment where I was just livid. Now, mad as far as absolutely bonkers off the wall crazy. You know what? That would probably be the same answer. The 3 months after that were pretty intense, as far as my mental stability is concerned. So, yeah, that's not quite a brief moment, but that's the best I got. So, moving on to happier things. What kind of music do you listen to? Basically, whatever I feel like. I can go ahead and show you my library. Let's see, we got some rap, some game soundtracks, heavy metal, folk music, kind of new agey drumming stuff. Basically whatever I feel like listening to. So, yeah, whenever the mood strikes me, I'll listen to what I feel like. Have you visited Europe, and do you plan visiting it? I have actually visited Europe. I went to Germany when I was 2, and I don't remember a single thing about it. I wish I did, but I don't remember anything. Do I plan visiting it? I don't plan to, but it is one of those things on my bucket list where I'd be like, I went to Europe. Check mark. My life is more complete. So I guess in a sense I do plan visiting it, but it's not something I'm planning for in the immediate future. So I hope that answers your question, I think. With the meaning of life question, I could go into a huge thing about that I'm not going to, because that would take up an entire Q&A video all by itself. So moving on to the next set of questions. Kim Columb, I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name. Will you continue the Harry Potter series? I really don't know. I mean, I thought about this before, but of course I am. I've only answered it in the past 3 update videos. Yes, I will be continuing the Harry Potter series, starting with number 4, which answers Charlotte de Jong's question, are you going to play Harry Potter 4? Yes, I will be playing it. Don't know if I'm going to be playing it with a friend, though, despite your recommendation, and many other people as well. Although it does sound like fun. Next question. MPJ Vending, coffee or tea? I love the smell of coffee. I cannot stand how it tastes. So, tea for me every day. Harry Potter? Answered that question already. I will be continuing it. Face reveal. Let me get back to you on that. And once again, we have Dark Ancient Z with some personal questions. What is your age? I'm currently 20. In September, I will be turning 21, and I can go out and get smashed, even though I probably won't, because I'm not a huge fan of alcohol. Have you finished your studies? Well, I guess if you're talking about college studies, then I never really started. As far as school studies are concerned, I would say yes, for the time being. But as far as learning stuff, that's kind of a big part of life, isn't it? So, I finished my studies, but I haven't finished learning. So, yes. Yeah. I don't know if that actually answers your question, because I'm not sure how to answer that. Do you have a job? I don't. And to be perfectly honest, I don't want one. At least not in the typical sense of going out and working for corporate or something like that. I don't know how it is for you guys in Europe, but over here it's the system for getting normal employment, that's entry level, is not one that I care for much, for the most part. And there's some reasoning behind this. Because for me, getting a job requires getting hired, right? In order to get hired, you need to go and apply and go through an interview process. When you're applying, you need to have a resume. And on a resume, they like to see experience, whether it's volunteering opportunities that you've taken up, whether it's prior jobs that you've had, and of course, depending on the job, they like to see relevance. For example, if you're applying to a job at let's see if I can think of something here. If you're applying to a web design job, specifically for HTML and coding, they're not really going to care about nature conservation experience. There needs to be some relation to that, They would very much prefer to hear about the programming that you experimented and goofed around with when you were in high school versus the 3 years you spent on being out in the wilderness and learning how to survive, kind of thing. And many of the jobs that you can get tend to be more corporate, and that in of itself is not a bad thing. But I have a thing against large corporations because, well, I'm kind of that mentality that the uber rich people with these companies like Walmart and Safeway kind of helped us to get the economy to where we are now, which is not a great place. And I don't want to be helping to support that. I want to be working, if I am working under somebody else and not for myself, I want to be working in a smaller, not necessarily a family-owned place, but which would be fine. But that, or one of the smaller chains, or something where I really enjoy what I'm doing. And that, I think, is key as well, is me enjoying what I'm doing. Because a lot of the jobs that I've looked for and applied to, they don't actually resonate with me much. You know, it doesn't click with me. Being a cashier is not something that I want to do for the next 10 years, you know? Maybe being a grocer is a little more interesting, but that whole environment is just... I'm not into working with customers, and I know I'm not alone in saying that. I would very much prefer something where it's either I'm working kind of more alone with my artistic capabilities, or it's more kind of a teaching sort of thing, I guess. Teaching's the wrong word, but where I'm able to pass information on to other people or help them with their own thing. I prefer the one-on-one. I don't enjoy the whole seeing somebody for 5 minutes, giving them what they need as far as a purchase or something like that, and then, okay, next one. I don't like the whole conveyor belt thing. I'm not a huge fan of that. So, no, I don't have a job. In which domain would you like to work? Well, I kind of covered this in the last question. But as far as domains that I would like to work, I wouldn't mind working in computers. More so of the... Well, I don't know. I wouldn't mind working in a job where computers are a big part of it, I should say. But as far as working on computers themselves, it intrigues me, but it's not a huge fascination, I guess. I'm interested in the hardware, I'm interested in how the software works, but I just don't get it. And because of that, it's like I really want to understand it before I actually start working in there. And sometimes the best way to learn is just to do it, you know? And if you screw up, then, hey, you learned what not to do. But really what I would like to do, as far as work is concerned, is something creative. So, graphic art design, or maybe traditional art design. Writing would be a big one. Whether that's blogging, or article writing, or short stories, or whatever the heck. Maybe essays, I don't know. I love making rants with research to back it up. Or maybe just sort of communal stuff like this. Maybe just sort of more communal, hey, there are these different viewpoints kind of thing. Videos. I wouldn't mind if YouTube ended up becoming my job, you know? But the thing with that is I would really have to dedicate more time to it. And having stuff outside of it that I would really enjoy doing, because one of my things is I can focus on a task for so long that I'm enjoying. I can have this laser focus, but then I need something else to do. Something that's completely separate from that. And so, for example, this whole thing with Idaho where I went out to the wilderness school, YouTube became my secondary thing. Because I was always outside and I was always learning about the outdoors and birds and plants and whatnot and survival and tracking and things like that. And I'd come home and I'd do whatever journaling I was wanting to or having to do. And then it's like, I have a laptop. I have games. Let's change my world a little bit. Let's go ahead and go into the game world or into videos and stuff like that. Let's go into YouTube for a little bit. So that's kind of where that happened. But speaking of being outdoors, you know, something outdoorsy, where it's working with something in biology, anatomy, ecology, biodiversity, whatever. Sciences and art and artistry or creativity are really kind of really general, but that's kind of the basics of where I would like to work. Something that I've thought about really is as a possibility for a career, which I hate the word because for me that has a certain stigma. But something that I feel like would really be awesome to do is grief healing. And by grief healing, I don't mean grief counseling where it's all psychiatry and stuff, which would be a good part of it. But for me, grief healing is not just working on the story, but working on the emotions behind it. And helping the people come to terms with what they were feeling for those stories. And moving on with their lives and being able to heal old wounds kind of thing. I think that's really where I would like to work, whether that's through video or one-on-one stuff or just things like that, I don't know. One-on-one and grief healing, kind of my thing. So that was all over the place, but I really don't know at this point. I'm 20. How am I supposed to know exactly what I want to do? I still got a whole world to explore and beyond. So next question, why are you traveling so often? I was thinking about this question earlier, and if you asked me this question last year, I would have said that I don't travel a whole lot. I would go out to California and visit family, and that would really be about it. But I think back on it, this past year, and I really am traveling a lot now. And the whole thing, I mean, I can go into, I was going out to Idaho to attend this wilderness school and learning about these different survival things and connecting with myself and stuff like that, and all these different stories about, adventures outside or in conjunction with. But what it all really boils down to for me, why I'm traveling so much nowadays, is because I'm following my heart. That's why I'm traveling so much. I'm following my heart and fulfilling my dreams. And my dreams right now are to increase my knowledge of the natural world, myself, connection with the natural world, myself, and others, and seeing what there is in the world. That's really where my heart is right now, and that's why I'm traveling so much. I hope that answered your question, by the way, Dark Ancient. Hopefully my answers are not too ambiguous. This is not the last set of questions that Dark Ancient Z has, by the way. I know that's not the last set of questions you have. I might not get to them in this video, because this video is already getting on to 20 minutes. Which is, that's a good length. But I never specified how many questions you could ask, and if there was a limit. There is no limit. So if you have 40 questions that you want to ask them all. Feel free to ask them all. I'm not going to limit you guys that way. And I will answer all of them as best I can. So finally, moving on to Imad Awazim. God, really hope I was pronouncing that at least semi-decently. My apologies if I didn't. Do you like the Nintendo 64? As a console and the hardware that it came with, I do. I love the games that came on the Nintendo 64. I absolutely adore the games that came on that system. As far as the controller is, no. I'm happy to be playing it on an emulator versus on the actual system because I absolutely hate the control scheme that the Nintendo 64 has. It's absolutely horrible. I don't know who thought having that third joystick in the middle there, being absolutely unreachable, was a good idea. Just no. So I like the Nintendo 64, what it brought to the table. Don't like the controls. So I guess overall, yeah, I like the Nintendo 64. Are you Muslim? I am not Muslim. I don't actually have a specific religion that I would set myself under to begin with. I really don't know. And that's a whole other discussion that I can save for another day. Charlotte DeJong, what is your favorite game? Ooh, my favorite game. My favorite game. I have to be honest, I don't know what my favorite game is. I have lots of favorite games. It's a little bit like music. If you ask me about my favorite song or my favorite artist, it'd be kind of like, well, here's my top 100. And that order kind of changes depending on what mood I'm in. And I'm sure my favorite game right now, or my favorite games right now, because I can't really specify which one is my absolute favorite, but my favorite games right now I'm sure are going to change in future. Maybe in the next 5 minutes. My favorite game at this point in time, let me just look at my library. None of the games on my shelf are exactly my favorite. They're all good, but not necessarily my favorite. Alien Isolation was good. I actually really love that game, but it's not what I would consider my favorite. I guess, I think my favorite game, I'll give you a top 5, because I really can't answer favorite game. I can give you a top 5 though. Not necessarily in order of my favoritism. The games that are coming to mind are the System Shock series, both 1 and 2. I'm going to stick those in 1, because why not? Life is Strange. Love that game. That is definitely in my top 100, if not my top 10. What else do I really enjoy? The Long Dark is a good one. I don't know that I'd stick that in my favorites list, though. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Oh, that one's good. How could I forget about that one? Love that game. That's definitely in my favorites. Depending on how the Talos Principle turns out, I might end up putting that in my favorites for now, but at the moment, I haven't played it, so I can't say. So Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, System Shock, and I said another one and I forgot what it was. Good job, me. Life is Strange. How could I? Jeez. Like I said, the list of games that I really like is too long to answer this question properly. But Primordia is another really good one. And I guess, what would I put in that last slot? What would I put in that last slot? I guess what I would put in there is Consortium as the 5th one. So yeah, that's my list for now. That's my current top 5 is Primordia, Life is Strange, System Shock. I can't even... You know what? Forget it. I like games. Let's just go with that. Oh, right. That is the first set of questions that I've answered for this video. These are not the ends. This is not the end of the questions, though. There are plenty more questions that I have yet to answer, and because of that, there will be at least one more Q&A part coming up, if not 2 or 3. So look forward to those, and I'll see you in the next bit. Feel free to keep asking questions, by the way, and I will be looking forward to reading more and answering more questions. So until then, everybody, have a wonderful day and take care. Bye for now.